Welcome everyone to WarThunder Histories, episode 20, and today we're looking at the slightly lesser known side of combat with the use of patrol bombers and flying boats. We'll look at a number of different aircraft from World War II from both the Allied and Axis sides, some of their roles, and a few notable engagements between Allied and Axis bombers, which surprisingly was more common than you may think. I hope you enjoy. So firstly, what are these aircraft, and what were they used for? Patrol bombers, more commonly known today as maritime patrol aircraft, are long-range bombers or flying boats that fly either independently or in very small numbers. They have a number of duties that range from U-boat hunting, search and rescue, reconnaissance, convoy escorts, and more. Due to the nature of their work, patrol bombers were usually very heavily armed, as they could not rely on mutual protection from other aircraft like the more traditional bombers. Some of the most famous patrol bombers are the US Consolidated PBY Catalina and the PB-4Y Privateer, with the PBY Catalina arguably the most successful flying boat in history. The British Short Sunderland is also one of the most iconic World War II flying boats, along with its very unique bomb rack that could be reloaded in flight and its exceptional defensive armament for the time, earning the nickname the Flying Porcupine by the Germans. As I mentioned earlier, the Axis powers also operated a number of patrol bombers and flying boats, primarily the Japanese with the Kawanishi H-6K and H-8K, which operated strictly in the Pacific, and the Germans operating a small number of huge flying boats like the BV-238, with this being the largest Axis aircraft of World War II. The Germans also used a number of conventional bombers in the maritime patrol role. One of the earliest recorded actions of bomber versus bomber dogfights came on April 3, 1940, where a Royal Air Force Short Sunderland was attacked by 6 German Ju-88Cs, a long-range fighter conversion of the Ju-88 bomber. Although not technically a true bomber, the Ju-88C only gained cannons in place of its glass nose, otherwise remaining relatively unchanged, so I'm counting it. Although the Sunderland took significant damage during the engagement, resulting in the aircraft making a forced water landing, the Sunderland was also able to shoot down one of the Ju-88s and critically damage another, forcing the others to retreat. Another notable engagement of bomber versus bomber combat came on July 2, 1944, where a US Navy PV-4Y spotted a lone Japanese H-8K whilst on patrol. The pilot was able to maneuver the aircraft to within a few hundred feet of the Japanese aircraft completely undetected, bringing all of the privateer's guns to target the H-8K, completely ambushing the aircraft and ultimately downing it. As I mentioned before, bomber versus bomber dogfights were by no means uncommon, especially in the Pacific. There are many accounts of US Navy aircraft routinely coming into contact with Japanese flying boats and engaging in bitter dogfights. As the name would suggest, patrol bombers have their primary role as patrolling. With the vital shipping from the United States en route to Britain and the constant threat from German U-boats, the Allies utilised a number of patrol bombers and flying boats where possible to provide as much cover for the convoy as they could. Both the United States Navy and Royal Air Force Coastal Command would deploy aircraft at either side of the Atlantic to hunt and destroy U-boats before they could become a threat with the use of depth charges, mines and bombs. These aircraft were often used to coordinate attacks by guiding destroyers to U-boats to engage them. Patrol bombers and flying boats were routinely used for reconnaissance, and would often guide friendly aircraft to attack the target or would attack it themselves using torpedoes and bombs, as I mentioned before. Patrol bombers and flying boats could also act in a rescue role for sunken ships and downed airmen. With their exceptional range and their ability to carry life rafts and supplies, they can search for long periods of time and provide essential aid until better help can arrive. Famously, or rather infamously, the first aircraft to arrive to begin rescuing the crew of the USS Indianapolis after she was sunk by a Japanese submarine was the US Navy PBY-5A. The aircraft initially dropped life rafts along with other supplies such as radios and transmitters. After the crew took a small vote and disobeyed direct orders not to land on the open ocean, they were able to rescue 56 survivors, with some having to tie themselves to the outside of the aircraft until more help could arrive. Although flying boats no longer seem to have a place in modern warfare, patrol bombers or maritime patrol aircraft are still in service in many different forms. More modern aircraft like the P-3 Orion and P-8 Poseidon are still in service with the US Navy and Royal Air Force, although a lot of this role has been taken over by helicopters launched from ships. Anyways guys, thank you all very much for watching. If you've enjoyed today's video, please consider leaving me a like, and of course if you're new here and you like what we do, please consider subscribing. If there's any vehicle or battle you'd like to see on the series, please let me know in the comment section below, and thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.